Jagged. There is a place inside where you get fed from an inner flow. If you sit in that place, your life is ecstatic, beautiful, free, without suffering, without drama, peaceful, serene, contented, whole, ever new joy. That is the seat of the self. If you sit anywhere other than that, then your life is other than that. It's tumultuous, it's moody, it's fearful, it's anxious, it's needy, it's human. One seat, you're divine. The other seat, you're human. You have to decide how you want to live this life. It is your choice. You can blame or credit anyone you want, but when it's said and done, it's your choice. Both seats exist inside of you. The seat of consciousness and the seat of humanness. All you have to do is center your consciousness on your seat of self, on your seat of being, on your seat of awareness of being. And you will start to experience what we're talking about. All you have to do is move your consciousness for a moment out of your seat of being, and you will experience turmoil, problems, issues, mind, drama. So it's that simple. How do you want to live your life? How you want to live your life is not dependent upon life. It's dependent upon your seat of consciousness. To the extent that you think that life must change for you to be okay, you're lost. And you will remain lost until you understand that you must change for your life to be okay. You must shift the seat of your consciousness out of the psyche, the human psyche, into the contentment of awareness of being. How does one do that? If you spent your whole life studying the answer to that question, you would always come up with the same answer. The real answer is you have to want. Techniques and stuff that is so secondary and so minimal that you have to want to is 99% of it. It's a measly, at the most, 1% how. Once you want to, it will happen. If you had no teacher, if you had no teaching, if you never read a thing, but you wanted to, you would. And if you studied everything there was to study and learned everything there was to learn and met all kinds of saints and sages and did pilgrimages to all kinds of places, but you didn't really want to shift your seat, it wouldn't. So it's the only thing worth talking about, is do you want to? And the vast majority of true teachings are really about why you would want to, not about how to. Because there's no problem how to. It just happens. One of two things happens that causes you to really want to. Either you suffer. You have so many problems. You have so much turmoil. There is so much disturbance that you don't want to live like that. And you've tried finding alternatives by changing people, places, and things, but you just end up suffering more. You just end up having more problems because you were already having problems, and now you decided if this person does this, or if this situation does this, or if only I could do that, I wouldn't have problems. Then you have problems with that. And so you've compounded your problems. And you eventually can reach a point, it's rare, but you can, to where you just are beside yourself. And you just say, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to suffer, period. Isn't there some way not to suffer? It's not worth it. It's not worth even getting what I want. That's what you get. It's not even worth getting what I want. If I could make a list of every single thing I wanted, it wouldn't be worth getting it. Because I've already seen it doesn't end suffering. It's just another list and then another list and another thing. There's always something wrong with it. It never does what you think it's going to do. It doesn't solve the inner problems. And so now you have a choice. Either you go into some deep depression that you can't get out of, or as your last gasp of hope you say, is there some other way? Is there some other way to live in this life and not suffer? And not have such a burden, and not have to go through all this turmoil, have all these issues and all these fears and anxieties and desires and hopes and dreams and all this stuff. All right? And you find another way. And the other way is to sit in the self, to find your seat in your being. And because of the suffering, it can sometimes drive you to really want to. But it can't be half-cocked. It has to be really want to. I'm really done with that. And if there's another way, that's what I want. That's one way you get awakened, pushed. The other is you're blessed with having a deep spiritual experience that awakens you to realize that you don't have to suffer. That there is inside of you true beauty. The place of such beauty, such love, such peace, such contentment, that all the rest of the stuff you're doing is meaningless. That there's no possible way that anything you can get in through your senses can touch what can go on inside of you. In which case, you really want to. Because the world loses its salt. It doesn't seem like anything. How hard was it to give up dolls? It's not hard at all. The moment you have more interest in something else, the dolls are gone, right? They're just not even getting touched ever again. It doesn't do anything for you anymore. Why? Because you experienced something that moved you much deeper. That's what happens with a deep spiritual experience. You have a deep experience and you'll never forget it. You realize there is a place inside of me that's way beyond anything that I can experience through the outside. And there's no suffering. And that becomes the reason that you really want to, because you really want to. You have to get to the point once and for all where you're not straddling the fence, to where it's not, well, I want to go but not quite yet, or I want to go but I want to take this with me, or as long as I can have this, this, and this, and this, now I'm ready. Then I'll go. No, it ain't going to happen at all, ever, if that's your attitude. There's no compromise here. It's an all or nothing situation. You're either living in your spiritual being or you're living in your human being. It's that simple. I think how you help yourself want to, really want to. You can't force your consciousness to want out, but you can pay more attention to what's going on. You can notice how fickle your psyche is. You can notice how absurd your mind is, that tells you it wants this 1 minute, then that another minute, and not the same thing it said it wanted 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes later. And you sit there and you look at it, and you hold it accountable. You look right at it and you say, now how in the world am I going to find peace if you're like that? You would drive anybody crazy. And you look at it and you realize, I don't want to be crazy. I don't want to be like that. And so I have to separate myself somehow from this craziness that's going on inside of me. That's how you wake up. If you pay enough attention to your mind and to your heart, and you realize that your mind and your heart are driving you through life, and they're crazy. It's that simple. They're crazy. They don't know what they want. You don't know what you want. You like to think you know what you want. You like to act like you know what you want. But you know darn well you don't know what you want. It could change in a billionth of a second. Somebody look at you the wrong way, you change what you want. Somebody not say hello, you're a totally different person toward that person for the rest of your life. That's not very solid stuff. You see somebody else who looks happy, all of a sudden you're not so sure whether you're happy. Oh, I thought I was happy till I saw Joni. It's like 8 million things happen a day that make you question your whole being. It's so funny. How hard is it to blow you off course? There it is. I'm feeling really good about myself. I'm really going to do this. Are you sure? It doesn't look... You don't like it? What do you think I should change? That's how hard. And you realize there is no solidity in there. It's crazy. You have to be willing to watch it. You have to be willing to not get in there and side with it and think, now I know. You don't know anything. She's nuts. He's nuts. You've seen it 1 billion times. What it's trying to do is find some solidity to make decisions, but it's just rationalizing what it thinks it wants. How many times have you decided and you went 3 steps out and you realize, oh, and you come running back? It doesn't know. That's the main point I'm saying. It doesn't know anything. Now, in this society, you're not allowed to not know. It's unacceptable. It's weakness and so on, right? A yogi, not only are you allowed to not know, you got to be hanging out with truth. If you want to find truth, you have to hang out with truth. The truth is you don't know. You don't know if you're coming or going. You don't know what you want and what you don't want. There is no solidity there. That's why you have so much trouble making decisions. If you will sit in the witness and watch this, it will inspire you to get out. You see, they don't understand there's an out. And so they basically say, if you got to live in there, make it nice. Make believe it's this, make believe it's that, tell people this, build a self-concept, get it as solid as you can, practice assertiveness, do your thing to make this thing more solid. If it was solid, you wouldn't have to make it solid. Its nature is it's full of holes, and you're lying to yourself if you think you've built something solid there. It'll get knocked over soon, don't worry. It can fall apart in a billionth of a second, the entire little house you built in there, can't it? All it takes is for one thing to happen that you didn't expect, and pain and suffering start where there was all this solidity. How solid is it in there? That's how solid it is. Anything could blow it down, can't it? First, have you seen how easy it can collapse? Yes or no? Has it ever fallen apart on you? Most of you guys have been around a block. You ever thought you had it all together and there it is, you build the whole thing on that, and all of a sudden the foundation falls down, the whole thing falls apart, and you're left standing there and it's all broke? Good. That's a good thing. Why is it good? Because it's the truth. I said there were things you could do that will help you get to the point where you really want to shift your consciousness. I'll call it out, where you really want out. This is the sort of thing that does that. Pay attention. Stop lying to yourself. Look at it. Not just look at it now. Look at it across the span of your life. Look at what it's done to you. Look at the advice it's given you. Look at its behavior. Tell me it's solid. Tell me at any given moment it couldn't fall apart. If you see this and you watch this, earnestly and honestly, something deeper inside of you will say, I really don't want to live there. But you're not saying it about your husband or your wife or, living in New York or outside or your job. You're saying it about where you're living inside. And you just basically say, I don't want to live there. Is there some other place to live? And the answer is yes. Yes, there is another place to live. How do I get there? It's very simple. By not living where you live now. It's not about thinking about another place and picking up your stuff and moving there. It's about watching where you're living now and saying, not this. Well, what the not this does is to say whatever is being said about where you're living now is not where you want to live. You know that. And so you let it go. You don't side with it. You don't participate in it. It gives you all this advice. It tells you what to do. It makes up its mind. Who cares? Who's interested? If you don't want to live there, then don't live there. That's how you don't live there. You don't move. Give me some clues here. If you move, what you're going to do is build just another self-concept and move your consciousness there. Oh, I used to believe in this, now I believe in this. The process is exactly the same. You're just building another self-concept and hanging out there, and that one will hang out to dry very soon also. It always seems promising while you're moving, till you get there. It's another place of falseness to be neurotic from. All right? That's a big clue. Don't move. Don't move from one self-concept to another. It takes a very long time to do that, and you gain nothing. Nothing. It will betray you just as much. Instead, you look at it for what it is, and you see it as psyche, as mind, as a disturbed heart. And no matter what it says or what it does, you just watch it from the witness. And you see what it's saying and doing, and you never ever buy in again. If you want out, you can't be in. And the way you don't be in is to not buy into what it's saying. Now, no matter how many times they say that to you, you shake your head, you're still going to buy into what it says until you're out. But you can get out. And there can be a place in which you will never ever buy into what it says ever again. How? Why? You who's watching it are not it. You who's not buying in are obviously not what you're not buying into. You're separate. That's why you're able to watch it, give its advice and do its talk and make its decisions, all of which are very tenuous and weak. You're able to watch it do that. You're able to know that the things I'm talking about are true because you sit back there and you watch. Just sit back there and watch. And the next time something comes up that's strong enough to try to pull you into solving it by getting in instead of solving it by getting out, don't. And that's your path. That's your whole path. That's beyond meditations, beyond mala beads, it's beyond spiritual journeys to India and the Himalayas. Like way beyond. Okay, not even close. Again, the next time it starts to tell you what to do to solve your problems, and you start to see yourself buy into, I got to solve this thing, I'm going to come up with an answer, don't. Don't what? Don't say what it's saying? No, it'll say what it's saying. Do not try to stop it from giving you advice. Believe me, you won't succeed. All right? It's a talker. It's going to talk. All right? It's going to say things. It's going to think it has the solutions. It's been thinking forever, hasn't it? It's going to tell you what to do. It's going to tell you what to feel. It's going to tell you what to say. It's going to do all kinds of stuff. You don't try to stop that. But there will be a point at which you actually want to listen to it. That's like unbelievable that would still go on. But it does. All right? It's like an alcoholic trying to solve the fact that they're having a real major problem stopping drinking by drinking. Really, I figured it out. I do much, much better with not having trouble with alcohol by drinking. It doesn't bother me nearly as much. Okay? So that's what you're doing when you get back in the mind. You have to be determined to say, that is not where my solution is, and I'm not going to go there. And so it gives you advice. You're so uninterested that you don't even bother stopping it from giving you advice. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. I ain't doing it again. So it's not that you go somewhere. It's not that you pick a place to go to. It's that you don't stay where you are. It's just, that's not me, and I'm not listening. That's not who I am, that one who's talking and giving me the advice. And I can just sit here and watch it talk, and I am better off than I am buying into the junk it's saying. Because it cannot solve anything, it can only cause suffering. And I may not be totally okay, but I don't have to increase the suffering. It's a lot like if you have a cut, an infection. You pick at that infection. It may seem like it's going to help. It doesn't. It doesn't help it at all, does it? It actually hurts it terribly to keep picking at it, doesn't it? It doesn't help at all to listen to what that thing is saying and to play with it and touch it and get involved with it. You are better off just practicing the same discipline that you use not to touch the itchy little scratchy little cut and not touch what that mind is saying. It's giving you advice and it doesn't know what it's talking about. The act of remaining centered enough, disciplined enough, centered enough to where you watch it, but you don't get into it. You don't stop it and you don't go with it. You just watch it. That is all you need on this path. The rest will happen by itself. Now let's stop there for a second. That's just amazing. First of all, it's amazing because it's so true. There's never been a truer thing that was ever said, ever. That's guaranteed that that's the truth. Yet, it is so far from what anybody understands or does. It's like you think you're supposed to go somewhere. You're supposed to figure out the truth and then go there. Not a chance in the world will you ever figure out the truth or ever go there. It's not how it happens. Why? The part of you that's thinking about it and the part of you that's doing something to go there is the very part you have to leave to get there. All right? So it's not going to happen. You can't use the mind to get rid of mind. You can't use will to struggle and fight in order to be free. Right? Struggling and fighting is struggling and fighting. Peace and freedom are peace and freedom. The only way out is through the self. Period. Only through the witness consciousness, through that seat of awareness, of objectively observing your own self and sitting here saying, thank you, but no thank you. All right? I've seen you before. I've seen this. I don't need it. Talk all you want. No one's listening. No one's listening. I would rather let the world flow by and watch than interfere with it based upon what this mind is saying. Because this mind does not know what it's talking about, and it cannot solve anything, or based upon what the heart is trying to cause to happen. You are better off. Because the funny part about it is the world won't pass by. It's busy, it's doing something, and you're involved. It will come and park at your doorstep. It will get you involved. It will engender all sorts of stuff out of you. It will cause you to interact with it in accordance to its own energy. And so you sit behind it, you watch your own self, and you let go. It's that simple. And if you feel the tendency to get involved, you don't. Now, if you want to sit there and say, but how? Then I'm going to ask you how you don't scratch the cut. Because I'll clue you in. There's a way you figure out not to scratch that cut. Not at first. At first it seems like a smart thing to do. Okay? And then you realize you almost had your arm cut off with gangrene and infection. Okay? And from now on, when it starts to itch or hurt or burn or something, you keep your hands to yourself, don't you? Why? You suffered enough. You suffered enough. You suffered. I told you there's one or two ways that cause your behavior. Stick or carrot. Remember? Either the realization experience or the suffering. So either you went there, you scratched this stuff enough to get a really bad grade A infection, and they had all kinds of problems, and now you suffered enough, and so you don't touch yours. That's one problem. No, don't. You tell everyone else, don't scratch it. Don't leave it alone. That's the kind of person that says that. Or you looked at it, and it was a problem, and the next thing you looked at it was gone. It was like there wasn't even a mark there. And everybody else had little scars because they played with it. You had nothing. So you had this great experience, right? So you know the way. You don't touch it. Either way, you learned not to mess with it. That's what you have to learn inside yourself. Don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. And every time you think this one's different, how long does it take? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? I want to know. How long does it take before you found every exception that you thought was an exception, and every single time you touched it, screwed everything up, and you said, oh, I thought I already learned that. I thought I had already learned that. And here you came up with an exception. There are no exceptions. No matter what befalls you, you just watch. You observe what you would have done in the past. And you'll never do it again. Once you get far enough back and watch the craziness that thing comes up with, and you realize, I have a choice. I can live in peace. I can sit in here, watch the craziness, and be unaffected by it. Feel deep serenity, deep peace. And once you feel deep enough peace and serenity, from behind you, not in front of you, all this stuff we've been talking about is in front of you. You'll notice that when you see your thoughts, your feelings are all in front of you. Your peace, you feel centered with you. When you are in that peace enough to where you don't get involved with what's in front of you, you will start to feel something behind you. You never knew there was a behind you. Nobody ever dealt with behind you before. Everything you're dealing with is in front of you. I swear, you'll notice that. You'll notice your thoughts are in front of you. Visualize a candle burning. Where is it? Behind you? No, it's right there. Is it really? Could be anywhere. It's just visualization. Why is it always there? Because you are hypnotized into looking in front of you. That's what you do when you look outside, so that's what you do when you look inside. There's no eyes in there that have to look forward, guys. but you've never looked behind you. Nobody looks behind them, even inside, all right? Until you let go of looking in front of you. You don't look in front of you. You're not interested in what's in front of you. You lose your interest in the world. You lose your interest in your psyche. And so you feel then the presence of the self, which is your center. You start to identify yourself as the one who's watching instead of the one who's being watched. And so when the mind gives advice, you should really go over there, you're watching it do that. You're not your mind. You're the one who watches the mind. When the heart feels all scared, you're watching it feel scared. You're not the scared heart. You're the one who's watching the scared heart. So your center of consciousness is already shifting. It is shifting back to the self. You who's watching instead of what you're watching. That's all. It's your true self. It's you. I don't know what words you want to use, all right? It's who you are. It's who's in there. It's you who watches your thoughts, you who feels your heart, and you who looks through your eyes. Who are you? In there? Sure you are. And you start to hang out with that place inside of you. When enough energy and consciousness builds up there, which can only happen because it's not building up somewhere else. That's why I can say, I don't want to be like the only way type guy. But I sat there and said, it's only by going through the witness you can get out. Why? Because if you're not putting your attention on the witness, you're putting your attention on something other than the witness. That's like my saying, the only way to go out the door is to aim toward the opening, that one on the wall. There are lots of other places you can aim, but you ain't getting out. Right? Your awareness needs to be drawn off of this craziness that's out in front of you so that it can center on who you are. If you want to get out, you first must center on your being. So you stop paying attention, I don't know how else to say it, to the noise down there. When you do, you feel where you are is more in your center. They say you get centered. Your awareness of your being is more in the center than it is out there. When this happens enough, something will open up from behind. It'll be a flow of energy. It'll be a sense of joy. It'll be a rush of love. Something starts to open up from behind where you're sitting. That's a very great experience. All of a sudden, there's a whole nother universe for the consciousness to relate to. Before, it was what was in front, which is really the world or the reflection of the world. Your psyche is just the reflection of the world. It picked up pieces of the world and it built it inside of you. Your ex-husband's in there, and your mother and your father, and all kinds of stuff's in there, isn't it? Right? That's what's in front of you. The world left an impression, it left an image, so that everything in front of you is worldly. Your center is your being. When you're no longer being addicted and drawn out in front of you, stuff will start to open up inside of you, behind you. And that stuff is inner stuff: joy, love, peace, ecstasy. Joy's not even the right word. What is ecstasy? It is a constant flow of energy pouring up spontaneously inside of you, wave after wave after wave, until eventually it's not even waves, it's one steady rush that draws your consciousness into it. It draws your awareness into it because it's so beautiful. What do you mean draws it? It pulls it behind you because that's where the energy flow comes from, behind. The more that happens, you can bet the less interest you got in what's going on down here. It's like, who cares? It was a mess anyways. So now you have a choice. Ready? Door number 1, suffering, burden, decisions, anxiety. There it all is. Door number 2, ecstasy, complete burdenless existence of moving into deeper and deeper flows of joy. Which one do you want? That's what it boils down to. Once you sit in that seat of center, that's what happens. Heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. All right? What goes on inside of you is heaven. It's beautiful. It's who you are. It's your birthright. It's the Garden of Eden. It just spontaneously and automatically feeds you. There's nothing for you to do. Or hell. I won't even say heaven and earth, heaven and hell. All right? And you look down there, and how many things can go wrong, and how burdensome is it, and how much trouble you've caused, and how much trouble you had, and so on. And worrying about what people think about you, worrying about what's going to happen, worry about tomorrow, worry about this, worry about everything. Who wants to live there? Why would you want to live there? when you can live in ecstasy. And so once you catch on to this, you get this sense deep inside of you that there's only one thing your life is about, and that is getting out. That's what it's about. That's your journey. Then you have to use it for that. That's what we always come down to. I told you 99% of this is you have to really want to. Part of really wanting to is that you actually use life for your liberation. It's not that you just tolerate it. It's not that you put up with it. It's not that you renounce it. It's not anything like that. Since what you really want is to get out, then you use everything around you as a means of your liberation. And life is your greatest source of liberation that could ever be. Why? It goes about its business, and either it does or it doesn't hit something inside of you. It's that simple. If it doesn't hit something inside of you, then it leaves you free to drift back because nothing's drawing your consciousness. If it does hit something inside of you, it will try to draw your consciousness to what it hits, if you haven't noticed. I will start to disturb your mind, disturb your heart, and your consciousness will try to jump in and get all involved in what the heck happened there. If what you want is out, you don't. You don't what? You don't get involved in what happened there. You don't try to stop it. You don't try to blame anybody. You don't try to do anything. You just notice that, something got hit. Thank God. Thank God something got hit. Thank God. No, but you don't understand. It really got hit. Thank all the gods and goddesses that could ever be. If there is something in there, you want it out. If there is something that can get disturbed in there that is strong enough to challenge your seat of consciousness, to challenge your wanting to get out, for God's sakes, you want to get it over with. Because that is keeping you from getting out. Anything that can get hit is what's binding you and bonding you to your personal self. If there is nothing that can get hit, you ain't going to be here like this. You'll be free. So if you want to be free and you want to get out, then life is your friend. It is your best friend. But you use it totally different than everybody else. Everybody else is trying to use life to get what they want. You're utilizing life to get rid of what you don't want, which is you. And that is exactly what Christ meant when he said, you must die to be reborn. They don't come any truer than that. And basically, you get to the point where you're watching it, and you see, this world is killing me. Good. Now you have to decide if the world can kill you. Are you going to fight it so it doesn't kill you? Or are you going to feed it with any part of you that can be killed? That is your whole path, right there. And I want to know is if you're not already doing what I just said, which is under every circumstance, with no exceptions, ever, every single second, taking any part of you that is getting hit and feeding it to the world and saying, you want a piece of me? Here. Here it is. I'm feeding it to you. You take any piece you can find because I don't want anything in here. The world should be able to go about its business without bothering me. Why? So that I'm free to go deeper. Because if I'm bothered by it, I'm not free to go deeper. I have to stay preoccupied to make sure it doesn't bother me and that I get what I need. And so you use life to liberate you by sitting in your center and letting go of yourself. And that's what it means to die to be reborn. You let go of yourself. You have to kill yourself. You just have to let go of yourself. You have to willingly die daily. You have to be willing to release that part of you. If you're willing, and if you measure your success in life by how much you let go of what got hit, okay? Instead of how much you controlled so nothing hit it. It's a whole other existence. You just keep letting go and letting go. You will reach the point where it opens up inside of you. Once it opens up inside of you, it's over. And when it opens up inside of you and you feel that joy and you realize that you have a teacher inside of you, the guru is inside of you, it will draw you back into it and you will know what you need to know. Everything will be clear when you start to live in this energy that flows up inside. And again, you go to the Bible. I will send unto you the Holy Spirit, the great Comforter, and through this all things shall be revealed unto you. And you go, oh, that's what that's talking about. But it's not until you actually have the experience and get to know that flow inside that you realize that's more than a comforter. It's an ecstasy maker, all right? And you don't have another problem. It's just your burden is light. It's filling you with this, right? And everything gets revealed to you. Because as you sit back in this, everything gets clearer and clearer, clearer and clearer, and it is your path up. The Spirit is your path up. And so again, you just see it's all there. It's all there. The question is, who's willing to go? Who is willing to stop playing around with their personal self? And just sit there and say, I'm not interested. I don't care what you want. Don't come up with good reasons why I should listen to you, because I ain't listening. It ain't got nothing to do with good reasons. This ain't about logic. But didn't it make sense? Who cares? It's got nothing to do with making sense. Either you want out or you don't. If you don't, you won't. Don't worry. Nobody can pull you out. Until you're ready to go, you ain't going anywhere. And you will only go as far up as you're ready to go. So no one's going to take it from you. No one's going to rip it from you. Don't worry. But you can stay there and suffer if you want. So this is your path. You have this choice of which life you're going to live. Do you live the life of liberation, or do you live the life of bondage? And every minute of your life you vote. And the beauty of your life of liberation is the moment you decide, and mean it, that what I want is a life of liberation, you're already over 50% liberated. Right then. Because the events that happen, you will say, I don't want to get involved in them. I don't choose. And most of them you can do that with right away. There'll be some that you still struggle with. But most of them, if you choose to say, I don't want to be bothered, because he didn't say, look, I'll be big, I'll handle it. He didn't know that I was here. I can handle it. It's very big of you. Well, usually you don't handle it. Usually you freak yourself out over the tiniest little things that ever could be. Somebody looked at you wrong. Somebody didn't look at you. Somebody said this. Somebody wearing the same clothes as you. Somebody that. Your hair's messed up. Anything and everything. And you're driving yourself crazy. Stop it. Stop it. Don't hang out with that part of your being. You wanted to tell me, oh, I can't. No, that's absurd. Of course you can. Of course you can. Just do. Just don't listen to it. You're better off going about your business with whatever's going on than you are getting involved with your mind and messing with it. You heard me? There's not an event that can take place outside that can cause you the damage that your inside causes you. Not even close. So you just let go. You let go and let God. You permit the outside to unfold however it must. Don't put time limits on it. Don't put qualifications on it. Don't do anything. Just be what you want to be. Go about your business. I'm letting go of me. And if you're bothering me, you can have a piece of me. Then something meaningful is happening. If it's bothering you, then it's meaningful. If you do this, the rest will happen. It's guaranteed. Period. It's none of your business, but it's guaranteed. Spirituality is not something you do. It's something you are. You just permit it to be. That's a very different thing. The only thing you do, your last acts of doership, are surrender. Your last act of doership are letting go of the parts of you that you don't want to let go of, and that don't want to be let go of. They're fighting for their existence. I have rights. You listen to me. I matter. Okay? And it goes about its business. And eventually you reach the point of saying, no, I'm not interested. I choose peace. Chakras.